Hello and welcome back to Books and Budget. This is Eve. I'm here today to talk to you about the books that I've had on my TBR for May and June. So sort of a spring into early summer TBR. Since this is my, since this is my new channel, I joined mid-May, so I wasn't able to put up something just for May, so I figured I would do May into June, sort of the upcoming plans for the rest of the spring. Just as some context, if this is your first video that you are watching with me, I'm currently super pregnant and am delivering at the latest mid-June. So for some context, that's why I'm so out of breath, and for two, that is why the TBR itself is pretty short, but then I have some potential options for in the event that life is a little bit easier than I expect it to be. So with that being said, I will begin with the book that you can see here first. So Stalingrad by Vasily Grossman. This is the New York Review of Books edition. Sorry, I just knocked my camera. I actually got it on remainder, as you can see, from a bookstore in the city that I live nearest to, which is Chicago, called Open Books. Great book. They have a few locations. The one that I bought this at was the, what was it? Lincoln Square? No, Westtown maybe. It's the one, gosh, what was it? Roscoe Village maybe? Anyways, west of the river, but not the one off Lake Street. Anyways, moving on. The reason that I have this book in my possession and the reason that I picked it up to begin with is because I already owned an edition of Life and Fate by the same author, Vasily Grossman, and learned that that is actually a little bit of a sequel. It stands alone on its own, and it is the classic of the two. It's the one that he's most well known for, but this is actually sort of the prequel to that book. And so I just figured I would read them in order and provide myself with a little bit more knowledge and context about the time. It is from the perspectives of Russians in World War II during the arrival of the Germans into the city of Stalingrad. So as they slowly approach Stalingrad, crossing the rivers from the Don to the Volga, and yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. I'm really far into it. Let's see, it's like a 970 page book or so. Let's see, 960 page book, and I am on page, where am I? 608 currently as of today. Kind of a fun way that I read these massive tomes is by creating a little chart for myself that I highlight. So I will go through, I've actually just been playing catch up quite a bit, which is why when I explain my logic, you'll see why there's not more down here. I highlight if I read that day a singular chapter of the book, and usually the chapters are anywhere from 2 to 14 pages, so it's very doable. In the event that I have read not just the chapter a day, but also an additional chapter or some, I will kind of work my way back. So eventually I'll meet in the middle, probably somewhere in mid-June. But I'm hoping to finish this before I deliver so that I don't have to be reading a massive Russian classic with a newborn. The other book that I had as a sort of definite is Where the Forest Meets the Stars, a novel by Glendy Vandera. I got this from my local library, so you can tell from the lamination. I'll leave the synopsis in the back here for your viewing pleasure. This is it's really a literary fiction. It kind of masquerades at the beginning as a sci-fi. It's not. I've already read it, but I wanted to include it in this list because I read it entirely in May for my in-person book club, which includes my husband and a few of his hometown friends who are now also my friends. And we meet typically once every 2 months. And this was the pick for this meeting, or this past meeting, which was this last weekend. I only rated this 3 out of 5 stars. I thought that it had some potential but needed a lot of editing. And I don't mean grammatical or sentence editing. I mean plot editing. Just didn't hit the spot for me, but I liked it fine. So Stalingrad, I typically only will read 1 or 2 chapters a day. So I have a lot of other things going at the same time, including The Last Cuentista by Dana Barba Higuera. This was published by Levine Querido, and it is a Newbery Medal winner, about a young girl and her family who live in the not distant earthly future, but when they learn that there is an Earth-ending comet that will life on Earth will cease to exist, the scientists and their families are afforded some permissions to make their way to a space station to live, and she is one of the people that was selected for that because her family are scientists. Her parents are scientists, so she and her brother and her parents are allowed on to the shuttle. And the whole premise of the story is that she wants to be a storyteller. Her grandmother is a Latina woman who has passed down these sort of oral family traditions from the centuries past throughout the main character Petra's life, and her grandmother was not afforded a ticket onto the space station, or the collective as they're calling it, and so she wants to carry on those family traditions and the kind of oral history traditions of Earth, but things go awry and not all is as it seems. Cuentista, for anyone that's curious, in Spanish is storyteller. So that's what she wants to, that's the role that she wants to fill in the new age. And I just wanted to point out how cool this book's binding is. I got this also at Open Books, the other location in Chicago, the one that is in the West Loop. A few others that I'm gonna just kind of put pictures in for, books that I plan to read in the coming weeks, but I don't have a physical copy of, is How to Raise a Feminist Son. I'm having a boy, and that is something that is important to me, so I intend to read about it. I just dropped a pencil, so sorry if you heard that clattering in the background. I will include a picture of it. Another book that I am hoping to get to on e-reader is a book called, I think it's Summer of Salt. I'll include the picture. I've only read like 1 chapter of it, so I'm only like 15 pages in. I'm putting that kind of later on. It's not a super huge priority for me at the moment, but if I get to it, I get to it. And then I'm listening to a book called Kushner Incorporated, or Kushner Inc. And again, I will include a photo of that here. So those are sort of my ebook, audiobook selections. If I happen to get through all of those, and I do think it is a definite possibility that I will get through all of these books prior to the arrival of my son, I have a few others that I have already begun but put on a back burner because I wasn't feeling them at the time, and I would like to kind of get through those. The first is Dark Archives by Megan Rosenblum. This is a nonfiction about the history of books, as you can see, bound in human skin, which is kind of icky, sort of morbid and macabre, but she is a librarian and journalist, and she's a member of the Order of the Good Death. If any of you read Caitlin Doughty's book, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, it's the same group. And so I found that, I found it intriguing. This was actually my book, I feel bad, but it was my book club's pick last time, and I didn't get to it. My husband actually was the one that selected this book. I just wasn't feeling well at the time that we were supposed to be reading it, so I put it off. And now that I'm feeling better, I'd like to get back to it if I can. Then we have Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I love Robin Hobb and her writing, and I have absolutely no problem doing a really slow digestion of her books. They're tomes. This is, I think, 800 something pages. Yeah. 838 pages. This is the finale of her first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy. all of which take place in her kind of broader collection of the Realm of the Elderlings, which are a bunch of series and trilogies that are all set in the same world with a somewhat chronological flow. This is the last of the first trilogy. And I'm loving it, and I put it down because I had other things that I had a little bit more time sensitivity going on with. So, you know, if I don't get to this before he arrives, this will be one of my summer reads, which I'm more than okay with. And then just kind of one that's been nagging at me of like, I need to get back into that, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a book set in Barcelona, post-war, and it is about the son of an antiquarian bookseller who discovers this book that he really enjoys and is fond of, and realizes that every one of the author's books are slowly being destroyed over the, have been destroyed, and he possesses one of the last copies, and he's trying to figure out a sort of mystery of like, who's destroying them and why. It's a slow going sort of historical fiction, semi-mystery. It really reads more like a historical fiction to me. But I've enjoyed it nonetheless. I actually I say that, I picked this up for the first time on my honeymoon 2 years ago, and put it down after reading about 150 pages, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just because I had other things that I wanted to get to and then just never got back around to it. So I feel a little bad, but 486 pages. So I've got, what's the math on that? A little over 300 to go, which is, the size of a normal book. So it's not like I can't read this in a week. It's just, will I? And only time will tell. Okay, and then some other books that, again, it's sort of sleep deprivation dependent. I'm really willing to be forgiving with myself in my reading in June, because I don't know how I'll feel, and I don't want to put this as a priority when really my family will be the priority at that time. But if I have the sanity and the patience and the attention span to get into more books, I have a few that I purchased, again, at Open Books, which is apparently the bookseller of the week here. I'll actually throw a link to their website just in case anyone's curious. They're a great nonprofit too. They have a bunch of literacy programs in Chicago, so check them out. They're also on bookshop.org. You could select them as your bookstore of choice for like the proceeds, which is what I've done. But last time I was there, I picked up 3 books that seemed intriguing to me. The first is Rodham by Curtis Sittenfeld by Random House. And this is a novel, as you can see, that is detailing what could have been in Hillary Clinton's life had she never married Bill Clinton. I just thought that might be an interesting story. She's a really divisive character in American politics today, as you probably know if you've ever turned on the news. And yeah, love her or hate her, she was the talk of the town in the, or one of the subjects of the Biden-Trump election because she was running in the primary. Is that right, or am I making that up? I'm lying. It was in the Trump-Clinton election. So anyways, moving on from that. That was what year? Gosh, it's been so long. 2016. So she lost to Donald Trump in that year, and I don't need to go into the actual politics of that event, but she's a pretty well-known American figure for anyone that's watching this that's international, and one of the most famous female politicians in American history. And it's just interesting because so much of her life trajectory has been tied to the politics of her husband, Bill Clinton, who was the American president back in the 90s. And so it's kind of imagining her life, and it's probably, I assume, still political or lawyer trajectory had she not married him. And this book tops out at, let's see, 417 pages. And again, sorry, written by Curtis Sittenfeld. Then following that, I have The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole. This is probably the least interesting to me in the bunch right now. Probably more of a spooky season autumn read for me, but it's an Oxford World Classic that I got on like a super sale. It's used. Actually, all three of these are used copies, but this is an early Gothic fiction English novel about I think it's an Italian castle in the in the Middle Ages, with a man who has a prophecy that sets him on a course of destruction. I've heard it's kind of oddly written. It was written, I think, what does it say? Oh, okay, the mid 18th century. So this will be more of like a mental challenge that I'm probably willing to take on in June, but you never know. If I get to it, I get to it. So this is the title page of the first edition and the second edition, and then excluding the appendices, it's 105 pages, so it's a really quick read, theoretically, if the language is comprehensible. And then lastly is a Daphne du Maurier, The Glassblowers. This is a Virago Modern Classic publication, which matches the edition that I have of Rebecca. And here is the synopsis here. I actually had never heard of this book prior to seeing it on the shelves, but I do love a good classic every once in a while. I've only read Rebecca. I haven't read Jamaica Inn, or I think she wrote The Birds as well. Anyways, this is about a woman who kind of, it says, well, it reveals to her long-lost nephew the tragic tale of a family of master craftsmen in 18th century France. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the French Revolution impacts this family, but I could be making this up, but I think that the narrator's family is related to the story in some way. So it's kind of a familial history. If that is not true, let me know down in the comments. Anyway, so let me kind of bring all the books back together here. I'm gonna flip them. I'm using my desk, my work desk right now, so that's why the kind of got like a shaky situation happening, but put this one in the back so you can see them all. All right, and then we have the final view, if we include all four of these. So here are the potential reads, excluding, of course, the ebooks and audiobooks that I mentioned as well, that I'm hoping to get to in the next month and a half. So wish me luck. These are the definites, maybe even excluding this guy, but hoping to get through and crack through as many of these 5 as I can as well. So thank you for tuning in today to Books and Budgets, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.